The Big Ten championship game is here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to SlasherU. I'm your host, Christian Rao, here with my co-host, Steve Feck, and we're going to break down Purdue taking on Michigan. This should be a fantastic game. Looking forward to this one in Lucas Oil Stadium. Purdue taking on Michigan. Well, we all know what happened last week. Michigan bullied Ohio State. I mean, there is no better way to say how that game ended. As for Purdue, they grinded their way through the Big Ten West. I don't think there's another better definition for that one. They found a way to get there. They finished 6-3 in the conference, 8-4 overall, and they found a way to get to the dance. I right off the bat, you have to think in your mind that Michigan is a clear, solid favorite to win this game. People might think it's an absolute blowout, but as we've seen from Purdue this year, in certain times that you don't want to sleep on this team. They have opportunities to do some great things. Just don't know if it's going to be enough against Michigan after what we saw last week against Ohio State, Steve.
Yeah, and historically, Purdue has come up with some pretty interesting upsets, over the last 2 or 3 decades or so. And again, you can't say, well, of course that means they're going to upset Michigan now because this is 2022.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, I mean, as far as total, yardage gained, they're in the same ballpark as Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
They go about it maybe a little bit different. Aiden O'Connell, I think, has 31 or 3,200 yards passing. They've got Charlie Jones, their top receiver, has almost 100 catches, on the season. So they're probably going to have to get it done through the air if they're going to get it done. And Michigan, when they're big favorites for whatever reason, I don't think it's conscious that they take their foot off of the pedal or anything. It just seems that those teams hang around a little bit. And for Purdue, I think they're going to enjoy it almost as much if they drive Jim Harbaugh crazy by forcing some turnovers and hanging in this game all the way down into the fourth quarter. So I think from that standpoint, it's almost an extra edge these players are going to have because they're playing with house money now. Because I tried to find someone that said Purdue was going to win the West, and I didn't see a single writer or a single report or even a single sleeper pick that Purdue was going to win the West. But they did. They earned it. They earned their right here. The opening line I had written down, and you already kind of got to it early on, was how did Purdue get to this point?
Right.
Because, again, we follow the Big Ten pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
We watch at least, in condensed version, most, if not all, the Big Ten games. And it just didn't seem like Purdue was going to be the it team. At first, I think it was going to be Minnesota for a while. Then it was Illinois. But, yeah, Purdue just found a way to get it done. And I think this is going to be an interesting game. I think the last line I saw was 17.5. Is that what you have?
It's not on the 16.5. Yeah, but you made a very valid point about that. So now we are a 16.5 point favorite, but you talk about how they got here with this Big Ten West. At the beginning of the season, they had a loss to Penn State by 4 points. Then they had a loss against Syracuse by 3 points. And we saw them easily a 1-2 team after the first 3 weeks of the season. Now we talked about Minnesota, how great their run was at the beginning of the year. Guess who stopped their run? The Boilermakers did. Then you go down to towards the end of the season, and you got this ranked Illinois team who was finally making some noise. We thought they were going to be the Big Ten West champs. Well, guess who they had to face and who they lost, and then no longer are ranked. The Purdue Boilermakers. They did, and they've won ever since that loss they had against Iowa, 24-3. They beat Illinois. They beat Northwestern. They beat Indiana. They are on a 3-game winning streak heading into Michigan. I am not taking Purdue to win this game. I am taking Michigan to win this game. I think they win this game just fine. However, when you look at the game, it's a 16.5 point spread right now, and it's going down. So I recommend that you play this one as quick as you can. I am playing Purdue with the points. And the reason I'm playing Purdue with the points here is because I think the game's a little closer than the line thinks so. And if you look at the past, they've only lost by 4 to Penn State. They only lost by 3 to Syracuse when Syracuse was on the top of their game. And then they had some rough goes, that 11-point loss against Wisconsin, sure, 21-point loss against Iowa. But 3 of their 4 games, their loss differential is less than the spread. and you're in a big time game, Big Ten championship, have the opportunity to spoil some things for Michigan. So I'm thinking it's a little closer than that. So that's why I'm going to take Purdue at the points on this one, not touching the over under whatsoever, because that's just, if anything, I guess I'd play the under without even looking at it, just because I think it'll be one of those games. But I do think Michigan takes care of business without problems. We're going to see Michigan, I think, as the solid number 2 seed in the college football playoffs and potentially in the national championship, Steve.
And who'd have thunk it? You mean it wasn't preordained that Ohio State was going to be in the national championship game? It seemed that way all year.
Yeah, and while we're on the Big Ten conversation, Ohio State is sitting on their hands right now, waiting, hopefully, that a team like USC or TCU slips and falls and gets a loss in their conference championship game, and maybe Ohio State sneaks in. They're sitting as the 5 seed in the current college football playoffs. I think that's the only way they get in. If it's a loss by USC, maybe if it's a loss by TCU. The USC loss, I think, is a definite for Ohio State, but a TCU loss, I think, is a meh. We'll see if the committee actually has some courage to keep the Horned Frogs in or not. That's the point on my side. What do you think is going to happen in this Big Ten conference championship game? Is Michigan going to do exactly what they did to Ohio State and bully the Boilermakers? Or does Purdue stay within the point spread or even maybe have an upset? And then what do you think about Ohio State while we're on the conversation? Do you think they find a way to make it in the college football playoffs? Let us know in the comment description below. Hit like and subscribe while you're there. And thank you for choosing SlasherU.